Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission. This is a 2018 Mustang. It's had problems. You had a lot of work done on it. So we're going to show you what's happened to this, give an overall view of the Mustang too, but mainly we're going to talk about the transmission. It's that 10-speed automatic transmission that Ford and GM worked on together. Then it was like cats and dogs. They went their separate ways soon after, but got 10 speeds and 3 of them are overdrives for better gas mileage. Those 3 overdrives, you can get good gas mileage if you drive conservatively. The best he can get in this is 27 on a highway. Okay, when I drive these things, I get like 4 miles a gallon because I drive them like a maniac. But for the overall car itself, he really has no complaints. He hasn't had any problems with it. It's got 57,000 miles on it, other than he didn't like the chrome, so he plastic dipped it. He's got to do that over. Plastic dip doesn't always last that long. But he's real happy with the car, except for the transmission. When he first got it, it was acting up, he took it in. They reflashed the ECM, they ended up changing the valve body. At 14,000 miles, they changed the torque converter. And then recently, they did some more work. So he's had the torque converter changed, the valve body. He's had it reflashed a bunch of times. He's gonna have me check it out with my machine. We're gonna take it for a good road test. But the problem is, this was one of their earlier versions of the 10-speed. I do have to say, I did one a few weeks ago on a year-old 10-speed automatic, and it didn't really have any problems. The only problems that you have to understand with that transmission is it is set up for gas mileage. You're not going to find too many fast Mustangs that get 27 miles a gallon, right? You got to drive them slow, but it can do that. The ones I drive never do, and the normal ones I used to drive, I'd be lucky if I got 14 on the highway driving conservatively. So you can get good gas mileage this way. So on the new ones, the one that I did a few weeks ago, they're better than these by far, but still, if you are in an economy mode, when you're taking off from slow, especially if you're at a stop sign, maybe you're turning right, going up a hill, sometimes they hunt for gears. If you have them in economy mode, if you switch over to sports mode, generally they work really well, especially the new ones. They've got that set up better. So if you really want to zoom around, put it in sports mode, and then go back to economy mode whenever you want it economy. That's why there's the different modes. It's for different driving styles, and if you don't understand what it's for, learn. In this case, it was the guy's wife. She didn't even know there were different modes. And I explained, hey, look, put it in sports mode. They put it in sports mode, and then she didn't complain about lack of acceleration. You can bypass some of the problems by going into sports mode. Now, like I said, he's real happy with the rest of the car. The 5-liter engine's got plenty of pulling power, doesn't burn any oil. And like I say, if you drive it conservatively with the 3 overdrives, you can get as much as 27 miles a gallon, which is a miracle for a Mustang. So we're going to look at the data, and we're going to take it for a spin. Got a lot of nice controls on your steering wheel. Nice little small steering wheel, black and chrome. Seats are nice and comfy, hold you in. It's a typical Mustang. There's some room in the back seat, not outrageous for long leg people, but they're comfortable enough if you're shorter. Killer sound system, speakers all over the place. Guys, we're interested in the transmission. So, first going to do a big scan, and so we shall analyze it, and then we're going to look at all the transmission data. As I said, okay, this thing got 57,838 miles on it, and we'll do a diagnosis. It's got a decent touch screen, works relatively fast. You just set your temperature, turn traction control off if you want. And you get to play with the modes too. As you can see, there's various modes. We'll start out with normal mode, Sport Plus, track only, drag strip, and snow or wet. And these aren't just buttons that are there to look cute, you know, with little icons. They actually do things. You're not supposed to use the drag strip in the regular driving. The snow or wet one is going to put it in different gears so the wheels don't slip. It's a pretty sophisticated system. Oh, there's a few little faults here. We'll start with the anti-lock brake system. Tire diameter, it's confused. No one reset it right, so we don't care about that. We will erase it and see if it comes back. Restraint control module, body control module B. There's a little fault there. Let's see what that is. Reading those codes. Let's see what they are. Left rear turn lamp feedback. Right rear turn lamp feedback. Yeah, a lot of computer stuff in these modern cars, let me tell you. We're going to erase all these codes and see if any of them come back. They're not transmission codes, but as long as we're here, we might as well go through the whole thing. We'll go back to the last one, which is power steering control module. We'll see what that code is. Realize, of course, this is electronic power steering control, more computer controls. You'll often get these communication codes, so we'll erase that too. We take it for a road test. We'll see if anything comes back. So now we're going to start her up and we'll go to some live data and take a road test. But we're going to go to the transmission section and take a road test. Rolling through, we can see the injector output faults. There's no faults. The injectors are all working fine. Check it out. The direct injection long-term fuel trim, 0. It is running perfectly. You can't run any better than 0. No wonder he's happy with the way it's running. It's running perfectly. Talk about data. Look at all the information you get on the generator. Current sensor, corrected value, frequency. Now, we all know the voltage is good. It's 14.44, 14.38, but they give all kinds of information. The injectors, no faults. We'll go through them all. 8 of them, 7, 8, and they're all no faults. Now, here's a bunch of pressure control solenoid information on the transmission that I'm going to watch while he drives the vehicle. Watch the torque converter, deceleration fuel shut off. That's how these things get good gas mileage. They are all controlled by computers. No faults in the torque converter clutch, giving you the solenoid pressure. See the torque converter slip actual while you're driving. Now we're coming to a stop. As you can see, the faster you go, the slip definitely goes down. And it follows the desired versus the actual. Okay, now forward, here we go. We're taking off now. As you can see now, it's got very little torque converter slip, the actual. Fluid temperature, you can see that's normal. You can see the input chef sensor, the quality, it's good, it's confirmed, it's good, it's confirmed. The frequency, go to the transmission range sensor, input B, quality factor is good, confirmed. All of it is good. So they did a pretty good job this last time around. Okay, well, we've done our road test and we'll check the codes. And while it's searching through the codes, well, hey, we know one thing. They did a good job fixing the transmission this the third time because it's not slipping at all. Before, if you was taking off, sometimes it would barely go. It's shifting perfectly fine, not any slippage. Before, when he slowed down, you'd feel the trannies shifting down, clunking down. That's all gone too. So this third time, let's hope it's a charm and they fixed it right. None of the codes came back. It's all green. Well, blue in this case. So they were just minor codes we don't give a crap about. Okay, so what have we learned? Well, let's hope the third time is a charm for them, because the third time they worked on it with the torque converter changed valve bodies, and they've reprogrammed stuff, it is shifting like a dream now. These early 10 speeds, yes, they had problems, but like I said, the later ones don't seem to, and I'm assuming they're putting later software into these things. They figured out what software works best. Now, he's only got about 2,000 miles left on the warranty, and we'll hope that this third time charm, that this is going to last, because it is running perfectly now. It's actually slipping less than normal. I was looking at what the desired slippage is in the actual, and the actual is actually less. So they've obviously programmed it so it doesn't slip. And like I said, he's getting 27 miles a gallon if you drive slow. Phenomenal gas mileage for a fast car like this. Driven in regular mode, not in sports mode, of course. What's the moral of the story? Don't buy something when it first comes out. But they seem to have fixed it. We'll see as time goes on. Believe me, if this thing acts up, he's going to tell me about it, and I'll tell you about it. Well, the third fix, when that lasted 5,000 miles or whatever, we'll find out. But it's working perfectly fine now. And if there is a problem and he brings it back, my machine's going to show what's going on. So don't buy the first of anything out there. Only time will tell, but third time a charm for the guy. Let's hope so. Porsche 911 Turbo, and the owner's going to try to convince me that it's not an endless money pit. Let's see if he can do it. Now, it's a convertible. There's no arguing it's a beautiful car, right? But, I mean, overall, I have to say, it was a money pit for the original owner, because he paid about $140, and this guy bought it used for $30. So, that tells you the hilarious thing is the original owner had it for like 80-something thousand miles. Second owner bought it within a very short period of time. He got rid of it because he thought that there was something going on with the clutch. Well, the guy who bought it is no stooge for two reasons. He figured out how to fix it for $100 himself, and two, this is his toy. His everyday driver is a 2007 Camry. So, he is not a stupid man. Turns out that they have this stupid accumulator and the clutch works off of power steering, and all he had to do was spend $100 in some fluid, and it fixed the problem. The other guy just went out and bought another Porsche. People that buy these cars obviously have to have a lot of money. Original guy paid $140, he paid $30. If you really want one of these, why not take advantage of it if you understand one thing, and that's this. maintenance. He maintains his own vehicles and he does a good job. He's bought cars. He's still a young guy, but he'll buy cars that have problems, fix them himself, save a bunch of money, right? You're planning on buying one of these things used and having the Porsche dealer service it. You better have 15, 20 grand a year to just throw out into the thing. He only paid 30 for the whole car. They're beautiful cars, right? It is water cooled. So it's a lot quieter. You see the old air-cooled 911s? Air-cooled engines are by their very nature loud. That's just how they are, right? This is kind of an interesting water-cooled engine. The main reason they did it, well, there's two. One, you can get a little more horsepower out of them, but the main reason for these are street cars. You can race them if you want, but they're street legal cars. They would never have met any of the anti-pollution standards worldwide, especially the Europeans, without going to water-cooled because they're less polluting engines. By their very nature, air-cooled engines tend to pollute more. They're running at a higher temperature. Air-cooled engines, they should really call them oil air-cooled because the oil takes a lot of the heat and dissipates it. At running speeds, they work perfectly fine because you got a lot of air going through the oil coolers, hitting the fins of the engine to cool them down. The main problem that Porsches and the previous little bitty Volkswagens had was, on the Volkswagen 4-cylinder, number 3 piston would always burn out because the air didn't hit it too good because of the design of the car, especially at slow speeds. So you're sitting there in your little Beetle idling while that was wearing out your number 3 cylinder. If you were always going 60 miles an hour, it didn't bother it that much. He's owned it for a year and he's only put a couple thousand miles on it. Now, at that rate, hey, he could be driving this thing quite some time and having some fun with it. An interesting thing about these 911s is, ages ago, the Germans wanted to get rid of them because they said, oh, those air-cooled dinosaurs, we want to put in a big V8 water-cooled engine Porsches on. But Americans love these things. So they all said, no, you got to keep making these, blah, blah, blah. And they make them and they sell them. There are enough rich people in the world that'll buy these things. And of course, a lot of them, let's face it, are snobs, so they can't have one that's 6, 8, 10 years old. That would show that they're poor rich people. Take advantage, buy it when they're done with them. Now, we're going to check this thing out, and I still say it's an endless money for the original owner. As for him, he's only had it for a year and 2,000 miles, and he likes playing around with it. And like I said, he is not going to race. So, you never know. He puts a little bits of mileage on it, he might be able to have quite a bit of fun. Because if you use the common phrase, speed costs money, how much do you want to spend? This thing's already fast enough, right? He doesn't need to soup up for speed. He's done wheels and different stuff to make it look a little snazzier, but it's so fast, he doesn't need. Look, it goes 189 miles an hour. Right? He has no plans on driving it that fast. He hasn't tried it out to see how fast it went. So, something like this, hey, you could probably have a lot of fun. These things are made in Germany with high technology. And it doesn't matter how old they are, they will probably go just as fast, 15 years old, as they did when they were new. Only they'll only do it for a short period of time, then they will blow up. So let's check it out with my fancy scan tool and see if it's got 1,000 codes like these often do, and most of them don't mean much. Here we go. Look, it has a real key. So, turn the key on, and of course, I forgot, Porsches are always on the left side. The Germans are strange. And the old hotel's warming up. Great scan tool. While we're waiting, we can say, there's the mileage, 92,772. You bought it with 90,000. Check to the vehicle. We'll do a standalone diagnosis. And then we'll do a topology scan. While it's doing it, you can see it's a 6-speed manual transmission. Of course, it's got power windows. Also has a convertible top. It's got a tachometer in the middle because it's made for racing. Speed speedometer's over here. You can see it's got 16 trouble codes. Trouble codes all over. The only thing that's green are the top and the seat and the suspension system. Those are the only things that don't have codes. We'll do the AC, for example. It's probably going to have some squirrely little computer codes. Interface with instrument cluster, CAN timeout PCM for the AC. So, squirrely stuff. We'll erase them. These things are so high tech. make your head spin. But his AC's working, so stuff like that. You cannot be a fanatic with a 10-year-old Porsche about minor codes like this. The check engine light's not on, doesn't have any particular running problems. You're going to find a lot of squirrely electronics as they age. Let's look at the ABS system, see what that code is. And message 1 missing. Same thing as that other one. Communications failure. You're going to find a lot of that stuff on these things as they age. Loose wires, weak batteries. If the battery was replaced and nothing was reset and it had a problem in the past, that will not go away until you use a machine like this to erase it. We'll go back and look at some more. Now it does say it had a misfire in cylinder 4 and cylinder number 5. What happened in the past, so we'll erase that. And I won't bore you with these other codes for airbag and stuff. They're all communication codes, so get rid of them all. Now unfortunately I can't access all the data because Porsche is indeed a scumbag company. Check this out. Access live data. It says this is a quick link to motor true speed. Please contact the dealer to purchase it. Well, I'm not buying it. Just have to take it for a spin. And of course in a German car you have to turn it off the whole way, then start it. It will not start if you have it sit in the middle position. Now, like I said, this has water-cooled head, so even though it's got almost 100,000 miles, it's a pretty quiet vehicle. You don't hear all that giant clanking noise that you're going to hear in an air-cooled one when they have 100,000 miles. Some of them sound like a sewing machine coming down the road. So a lot of people say, oh, this is a horrible year, 2004. Yes, it is, if you get the non-turbo. Now, normally I tell people, don't buy a turbo. It's going to wear out faster, blah, 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 right? In the case of this, you better buy a turbo because the stupid bearing in a non-turbo breaks and then they blow up. So, hey, it's worth knowing. If you're going to buy one of these things, do some serious research before you do. Because generic advice would say, don't buy a turbo. In this case, the turbo doesn't have that bearing that's going to make it blow up. Now, here we go on the road. Now that we're out of the subdivision, well, we can't go too fast because there's people in the way, but you'll get the gist of how this thing runs. And if you didn't notice, we're in second gear. His traction control kicked in. Once it started going, these are fun to drive. Now, yeah, they're endless money pits if you don't take care of them and really drive the living heck out of them. But as a toy, his regular car, remember, is an '07 Camry. You could get one of these if it chose to be in good shape. He got a great deal because the guy thought the clutch was going out. Cost a lot of money to put a clutch in one of these things, right? And it was just this stupid actuator because of the power steering system that it used to help the clutch. So there you have it. A really fun toy to drive around if you don't mind rolling the dice and shake it out. Now, don't think he just found this thing in 2 seconds. He looked at a bunch of them, a whole bunch. He found ones that had been wrecked 6 or 8 times. You ever look at one of these? Look around, take stuff out. If it's different colors all over the place, you know, it's a Franken Porsche, built from different ones that have been wrecked various times. Look at the paint in the sun. This was basically a one owner. The second guy only had it a short period of time. Then the clutch went wonky and he didn't want to mess with it, so he got something else. And he was smart. He found out it was only a $100 part to fix it. So, do your research. You want a toy for 30 grand, you can find one in shape like this, and you drive an '07 Camry as your regular car, hey, be my guest, try it out. It's a Volkswagen Jetta. This man is a glutton for punishment. It's like the 4th Jetta that he's bought. And we're going to go through it and see the good, the bad, the ugly, and should you even think about getting one of these? Now, this is the 4th one he's owned. He only paid $2 grand for the thing, okay? $2,000, and he's put on 50,000 miles. He's done quite a bit of work on it, too. He's learned how to do it because he's owned 3 Jettas before, and they all would break down. For example, he had to put a transmission, and now he got lucky and got a used transmission that worked. Nobody really knows how to fix them. He just got a junkyard one. Luckily, it worked. He's done the clutch, the timing belt, the water pump, the head gasket. He's rebuilt the front end. You can't blame that on the car because somebody stopped short in front of him and he smashed up the front. But he's done all that stuff himself. He paid $2 grand. He figured he's probably got another 3, so he's got $5 grand in it, but he's driven it 50,000 miles. On the other hand, if you're not good with your hands fixing cars, don't even think about buying one of these because, yeah, he's got $5 grand in it for all the work that he did. If he would have paid a Volkswagen mechanic to do it, he'd have like 15 to 20 grand in it. A lot of stuff you can do yourself if you don't mind fiddling around. Really? I still say he's a glutton for punishment. This is the fourth one he's had. Now, as you can see, he's done a lot of modification. And he got rid of a lot of the evap stuff. He can do that even though he's in Massachusetts. Because this thing is over 15 years old. The Massachusetts laws, it doesn't do emissions testing after 15 years old. That's one of the reasons he buys a car like this, because he doesn't have to deal with all that horse manure. Just like in Tennessee, only Tennessee, it's all the time. They don't inspect any car. So you don't have to think about it at all. But you get something like this, over 15 years old, you don't have to deal with any of that crap. You can delete the stuff he doesn't need to and get it running fine and not have to pay a fortune to somebody to find out that some stupid evap hose is leaking under the car and you got to take half the car apart. Now, this is 1.8 liter turbo, and you can see it's not that big. So he was able to do the head gasket work himself. It's not all that heavy. And unlike the 2-liter turbos that Volkswagen and Audi have the worst problems with, I know an Audi mechanic, he says that the dealership does 20 to 30 of those 2.0 turbo engines every month because they're always blowing up. These 1.8 turbo engines are actually decent engines. This one's got a standard transmission in it. Now, when he bought this thing for $2 grand, it had 130-something thousand miles on it. With a manual transmission, yeah, it finally wore out. He got lucky and he got one in a junkyard that works perfectly fine. But realize the value of these Jettas, they're a lower end car, isn't that much. So they get totaled like that, especially when they get to be older. So there's tons of engines and trannies and junkyards. They were going okay, but the car got totaled. Speaking of totaling, he's got a hilarious story. When it did get hit, instead of ding here, they said they totaled the car. Because they said the value of the car was $3 grand, and being a German car, the body work was more than that, right? So he got to keep the car as part of the dealer, and they gave him $3,000. So then he went and got junkyard parts and bolted them on. If you don't mind doing that kind of stuff, hey, feel free. But like I say, if you're the type of person that doesn't work on cars, don't ever buy one of these things used. You'd be insane. Now, I can't comprehend it myself, but worldwide, they've sold over 15 million of these Jettas. The reason Volkswagen always sold a lot of cars, and one year they even sold more than Toyota, is because they cost less, they're zippy, they are fun to drive. They're a lot more fun to drive than a Toyota, I admit it. You know, they are more fun to drive. It's just that they're not fun to fix. The Toyotas, you hardly ever touch them. These, you're always doing something. Like I say, if you don't do it yourself and you pay somebody, it's going to cost you a small fortune. But the original cost of these Volkswagens is dirt cheap. That's how they sold so many Jettas. Even in the United States for a while, they were selling quite a few of them because they were priced so low and they ran so well when they were new. I remember a customer of mine in Houston, she got one. I said, and it was falling apart. She bought it used like 120,000 miles. She should have never bought it. It was falling apart to begin with, right? So I said, why did you buy this? Oh, my father told me to get a Volkswagen because he had a Beetle when he went to college, you know? The old Beetles, they're cool. They have nothing to do with these things. These are high-tech cars, not something you can fix yourself. When they do break, realize, just like BMWs, there's all kinds of plastic crap on these things that are going to snap, they're going to break off, then you got to buy this. I've had customers' door handles break off 8 or 10 times, they fix them, and then a year or two later they break again. Maybe have a little bit of fun for a little money like he did. Feel free, just never buy one of these cars if you're not mechanically inclined and willing to put a lot of time and also be kind of a riverboat gambler throwing those dice. Because, hey, he bought a used standard transmission. Who's to say whether it's going to work? It works fine. Now, he got lucky, but it's a lot of work if the thing didn't work when you put it on. It's got really comfortable seats. He had a little tack here. So let's start her up. Hey, it started up, which in and of itself is kind of amazing because we had to jump start it to get in the garage. He drove it over here, but then the battery went dead. Typical Volkswagen Jetta. He straight piped this thing with big pipes, took the catalytic converter and everything off of it. So it makes quite a bit of noise. That's what guys generally want in a GLI. He does own a GTI, and those are fun, zippy little cars. And the hilarious thing is, okay, this thing was made in Mexico, and for a while they were making the GTIs in Mexico, but even Volkswagen realized the Mexicans didn't do such a good job, so they moved the GTI production back to Germany. And when they moved it to Germany, hey, then they went back to quality. Made in Mexico, especially if you're going GTI top of the line stuff. That one works. That one works. And Well, they all work. That's a rarity. And the sunroof works. And he's a speed demon, so he's got a radar detector. Okay, he got the door open with a hip thrust, so that'll show you things are kind of bent. But it's got a reasonable amount of room in the back seat. Not outrageous, right? But they are actual seats for more than just miniature schnauzers. So here we go out of my driveway, out of the garage, and we'll take it for a spin. We go on the bumpy roads. Now, these things have a nice driving suspension. It's a small wheelbase car. You're going to feel bumps, but really, the bouncing around here is because they're the original shocks with, 180,000 miles on them. So we're going to get a bouncy ride here. He's got some good shocks that he's waiting to hook up, so. Now here we go. Hey, this thing whizzes along. But speaking of whizzing, that noise you heard is the turbo, and he's going to replace that soon. Because it's on its way out too. He likes driving the thing, and it is fun to drive. I mean, sacrilegiously enough, the first car I ever owned was a German car, an Opel. I drove the heck out of that thing. I paid $500 for my Opel, and he paid $2,000 for this. So that's probably what inflation would be. For having a lot of fun with something you don't mind working on, they are fun to drive when they're still going down the road. It makes a great sound. It is fun to drive. I mean, look at this thing. There's the whistling turbo. Yeah, I kind of like it. And listen to this. So it's warning people, beware, Volkswagen Jetta on the way. Things may explode at any moment. So there you have it, a $2,000 Jetta, but he did get $3 grand from the insurance company. So now he's got $5 grand into the thing, and it really is a lot of fun. Sure, it backfired. It's going to need a turbo soon, and he's done a head gasket, replaced the transmission. I mean, the reason that people actually buy them who aren't like him or are mechanically inclined to buy a used one cheap is because they are zippy. They are fun, but as you see with what he's done with his, they do fall apart. And even though he's only got $3 grand, that's parts, baby. Ask a Volkswagen dealer, labor, add another 10 to 15 grand to that, right? And who's going to put that into an old car? Nobody. They sell them new like hotcakes. These things are all made in Mexico. And the quality isn't that great. Look at the problems Ford's having with the stuff they're making in Mexico, and GM and Chrysler, the stuff they're making in Mexico. The quality just isn't there. So I mean, you want to have a lot of fun in a zippy little car, and you don't mind getting your hands dirty and gambling with used parts and doing a lot of work, yeah, you can have a lot of fun. But if you're a normal human who just gets in his car, turns and puts gas in and drives it, I'd say stay away from an old Jetta like the plague. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.